Hello, it's Rob from Vital Games again. This is a tutorial based on the one I did before in regards to the lighting effect within Game Maker. This tutorial I'm going to show you how I made the actual sprite, the black and the transparent sprite in Adobe Illustrator. The first thing we need to do is create a new file. So I only need it to be 64 pixels by 64 pixels. I'm going to call it lights. Color mode doesn't make a huge amount of difference to me. RGB is fine. I don't really want to align new objects to pixel grid, so we just create a new project here in Illustrator. For those who've never used Illustrator before, if you're ever getting into making games, especially for 2D games, the Adobe Cloud Creative Suite, the one they charge you like 27 quid a month for, it's absolutely brilliant. I know a lot of people out there think, it's a lot of money for something like this, but you do get quite a lot of their applications within the monthly subscription. I have Photoshop, Animate, Illustrator, Premiere Pro. There's about 30 applications that you get for about a £27 a month subscription. It's absolutely brilliant. I recommend it to anyone who wants to get into making 2D games. So here we are in Illustrator. I won't go too much into the layout of Illustrator and how it all works, but what I want to show you is how I created the sprite to give me a lighting effect within Game Maker, and how you can modify it to change how you create the size of the light that you want. So I have a 64 by 64 artboard here. I'm not too interested in layers because I'm only going to have one part to this. So over here on the left hand side where you've got your tools, I need to create a new rectangle tool. You can use the M key if you want. I quite like using my mouse for this, but you can use the M key. Using the snaps, I'm just going to start at the top of the page. I'm going to make it the same size as the page. I'm going to select my selection tool, or V is the shortcut for that. I just want to make sure that it does fit on the actual artboard perfectly. Apparently I didn't click on it absolutely perfectly, so I'm just going to physically put the numbers in, so 00, 64, 64. Now it's automatically created a stroke and a fill for my rectangle. I'm going to swap them round so that it's got a black stroke, and then I'm going to black fill, and then I'm going to change the stroke to none. So I have a pure black rectangle here. And then over here I'm going to select the gradient, so it gives you a standard linear white to black gradient. I actually want to change this to a radial gradient. So as you can see, we're getting pretty close anyway to where we want to be. So what we need to do now is figure out, first of all, when you are doing this sprite, that you should have a few pieces of information. So you should have a good idea of things like the size of your viewports. So you should know roughly how big your viewports will be. You should know the devices that you're putting it out to, and the biggest resolution that you're going to support. So in my case, I'm going to support 1024 by 768. The only real thing that I'm interested in here is 1024, because that's the largest of the values. This is a square sprite, so I just need to concentrate on the largest value, so 1024. So what I want to do is also I need to know the size of or the radius, should I say, of the actual light source. So from the player, I want a light source that is 384 pixels across. So what I'm going to do is use the calculator. I'll quickly talk through the maths behind what I'm doing. So I'm using a viewport that is 1024 by 1024. The idea is that you should never see the edges of this sprite, so we need to make sure that the sprite is big enough and the circle in the middle is small enough that when you hit the edge of the screen, or you hit the edge of your room, and the viewport is following you, you never see the edge of that sprite. You never see a line of light down the edge where your sprite has moved off of the viewport. So we do the size of the viewport, and we times it by 2, because the center of the sprite is where your player is going to be. So it's from this point here to this point here should be the width of your viewport. So we double that. So 1024 times 2. So we've got a potential scaled sprite of 2048 pixels. Okay, so knowing that, we have a 64 sprite, but what I need to do on here is actually figure out the location of the largest radius of my light source. So I know that I want my light source to be a diameter of 384, or radius 192. So what we do is we go 384 divided by 2048 times 100. So it's about 18.75%. I'm going to round that up to about 19% because I just am. I like that. So what we do is we change this to black. This is actually the center of the gradient. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to about 30% opacity. And then this one, we keep it as black 100%, and we change the location to 19. And then, in fact, that looks more like grey, so we change that to black. There we go. And then we leave the actual pip up here alone. I'm not going to touch that. But as you can see now, we have quite a small circle in the middle of the screen. If I go to Pixel Preview up here in the View menu, you'll be able to see that obviously I've got a circle in the middle of the screen, which will give me my transparency in the middle for my light source. And that's it. I can turn the Pixel Preview off. As I said, the most important thing here is the location. So 19%. You can, if you want to change the size of it, say for instance you want a 256 by 256 diameter, transparency in the center, you go 256 divided by 2048 times 100 is 12.5. So to make that 256, we change that to 12.5, and that will be 256 pixels, basically. So because we're doing it in percentages, we can fairly easily work out the size of the transparency on screen and make it work for us. So we now export that. Use a ping. Always make sure that you turn artboard on so that it actually exports the artboard. And then one of the most important bits that I find here is the level of anti-aliasing. When you use anti-aliasing in Adobe Illustrator, there are 3 options. You can have no anti-aliasing whatsoever, which I don't really recommend because it will look worse than you would want. Type is the default, and that's for when you have text. So it will optimize the anti-aliasing for the text. We actually want art optimized because this is a shape, an object that we want to anti-alias. Generally, it's kind of like the difference between edge anti-aliasing and full screen anti-aliasing. It's kind of the thing that it's trying to do. And then when you click OK, it will export the artboard there. And then if I go to the folder where I have it, there's the actual sprite itself. As you can see, it's created a sprite with a bit of transparency in the center. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Have a look at some of my other bits on YouTube.